Assalamu alaikum, guys. Welcome to the DCZ podcast. And today we have a unique person with us.
Thank you
We
very
have
much.
Tariq Fawad, the creative head at Johnny and Junior. So, Mr. Tariq,
Yes.
first of all, I'd just like to know a bit more about your position. Creative head, Johnny and Junior, it's a food brand after all.
Mm-hmm.
Why do we need creativity in making food?
So, I love the question because when people say the word creative, my biggest concern with that is what they mean by it. Now, I remember this meeting we were having with the operations lead, the head of operations, who's sort of working on ensuring that on a day-to-day basis, our branch is working the way it needs to work. All of our branches, right? Customers are coming in, interactions are happening all the time, and in this meeting, they were talking about, you're not creative, you know, I'm not creative as a person. So because we're having an intellectual meeting, sort of an interdepartmental meeting. And the thing I came to realize was, that's not true at all. The job they do on a day-to-day basis requires so much creativity. In fact,
just like the creative solution you just used right now, because you didn't interrupt the rolling, but you just fixed the major issue in this frame.
And like this on a more bigger basis, right? This could be a smaller scale of what a bigger result sort of interaction is when our operations people on ground are problem solving on a day-to-day basis, right? They're producing Yarrow on a daily basis. They're making sure there are helmets set in place or safety nets that are always tested and retested to make sure that what hoti ja rahi hai.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
But I'd like to dive a bit more into your specific position. What kind of creativity are you adding to the brand here, and what are the day-to-day solutions that you're finding here? The value that you're adding to this company.
Truth be told, in Pakistan, we're so creative as people. But the thing I feel like with Johnny Juno sort of coming into play is that you see a lot of things happening around you all the time. Right? You're seeing a bunch of different brands come into play, and I see a lot of growth in this space. But ever since Johnny Juno started as well, the major sort of gap we've identified really, and that's sort of where creative comes into play. Identifying gaps in the first place, right? You're in a market right now where, Pakistan is a very challenging market generally to play at as well, right? What are things that we can explore? What are places that we could go into? And as a creative sort of, I hate the word as well, but you have to set the direction for what you want to do.
Yeah.
What spaces your brand wants to occupy. Because end of the day, it's all about, there's this quote that our CEO uses all the time, and I love it because it really sets the direction for what you want to do with anything. And it's that, if you see Alice in the Wonderland, right? It's Alice falls down the cave, and she's like, "Oh, I'm trapped. What do I do?" And the first thing she sees is this giant, weird, smiley cat. And she asks the cat, because she's lost, right? So she's asking, "Where do I go?" And the cat says, "Well, where do you want to go?" And she's lost, right? She doesn't know where to go. So she's like, "I don't know where to go. I don't know where I want to go." And the cat says, "Well, if you don't know where you want to go, every road will take you there." And that's really true. And that applies to what we do as a creative in this space as well. You want to understand what spaces you want to occupy and what spaces you don't want to occupy. Some things might sound very appealing in the short term, but realistically, what you need to figure out is in the longer run, building what you know as a brand, what you want this brand to become as well in the future, understanding the priorities and understanding what you want it to be. And so I think majority of the discussion revolves around, as a creative, a lot of that, majorly sort of when you think about it, it's like, okay, making content, building stories, building a narrative around what you want to do. But at the end of the day, it's really about figuring out which gap we want to occupy.
So, the Johnny Jugnu right now as a brand in the Pakistani landscape is well known for its marketing expertise and the way their campaigns are standing out in the market. You don't see any other restaurants doing the stuff that you guys are doing. So I'd just like to know, what's the secret sauce behind that? What's the thought process? Why and how do you guys end up being just a trailblazer in the food sector?
I love that word, trailblazer.
Yeah.
I would disagree actually. Especially recently, I think a lot of brands are coming into this space now more and more, right?
And would you say that maybe you have played a role in inspiring some of those brands? Because you guys have been in the market doing stuff like that for around 8 years, I think, 8 or 9 years?
Yeah, 8 years. Well, the term we use internally in the business market as well, it's called co-opetition. So end of the day, we occupy a very competitive industry. It's a QSR industry, very competitive. But end of the day, as a Pakistani brand as well, you really want to create an environment to inspire others to do the same, right? So competition comes with the idea of you're occupying a space. There is natural competition, direct competition that comes into play. But at the same time, you want to build the industry at large.
I'm just gonna maybe wrap up our discussion with one last question, which is, you know how in Pakistan, in Pakistan we see that food is the main attraction for anyone and everyone. When they're trying to hang out, they need to have a fun day out, they need to meet. It's always just food, food, food. So, how do you see that as an opportunity? Like being just a food brand. I mean, you're not just a food brand. I think I see food brands now transitioning into more lifestyle stuff as well. So, do you see this as an opportunity? The lack of maybe more creative outlets in the country and in our city as well. Do you see that as an opportunity?
There are certain brands that have really, played a huge part in being a part of people's day-to-day lives. And I think occupying that space is why you want to push yourself as a lifestyle brand. So interacting with the brand isn't just because you want food, right? You don't come to Johnny just because you want food.
Yeah.
You come to Johnny Junior because you just want to have a good day.
It's an experience.
It's an experience. And that's kind of what comes as a creative as well. Your job is kind of to make sure that conversation, that discussion is happening not just in terms of content or production or media. It's happening company-wide.
Yeah.
So even in the way we train our crew members, right? We don't train them that when people are supposed to call you, you just, sell them our food. आपने खाना नहीं बेचना. आपने उनसे बात करनी है. आपने उनको you sell them solutions to their problems, personal problems. यार कैसे देना आपको? यार क्या चल रहा है? खाना वो खरीद लेंगे. खाना तो that's the most generic thing. खाना तो आप खरीदोगे. लेकिन what's more that you're adding to that conversation? That's what it's really about. And so I think that top-down approach really makes a difference in making sure you sort of solidify your space in the lifestyle domain. And I think that's what we kind of focus towards as well.
Yeah, that's lovely, Tariq. I love the way you think and what your brand is doing. Hoping to see you guys just making it up the industry. And thank you for having us today. And it's been a lovely podcast with you.
I appreciate it.
See you next time.